has stained her cheek. Her lips are even brighter, like virgin quartz without a streak. Her teeth are but far whiter. Her eyes are large, ere it's soft and dark, and clear as running water, and straight as any stringy bark is Lil, the digger's daughter. She'll watch the prospect quick and well, and deftly rise a ladle. The weight of gold at sight she'll tell, and work with tub and cradle. She was her father's only mate, and wound up wash and water. She worked all day and studied late, for all she knows he taught her. She stood to wait the word below, a test for woman rather, when I sprang to the windlass bow and helped her land her father. Turned her pretty face on me to thank me, and I thought her the grandest girl of all her race, sweet Lil, the digger's daughter. And when my look began to change, I grew a trifle bolder, and told my love, but it was strange, she knew before I told her. She said that she would be my wife, then home I proudly brought her, to be my loving mate for life, but still the digger's daughter. When my luck began to change, I grew a trifle bolder, and told my love, but it was strange, she knew before I told her. She said that she would be my wife, then home I proudly brought her, to be my loving mate for life, but still the digger's daughter. She'll wash a prospect quick and well, and deftly rise the ladle. The weight of gold at sight she'll tell, and work with tub and cradle. She was her father's only mate, and wound up wash and water. She worked all day and studied late, for all she knows he taught her. She watched the prospect quick and well, and deftly rise the ladle. The weight of gold at sight she'll tell, and work with tub and cradle. She was her father's only mate, and wound up wash and water. She worked all day and studied late, for all she knows he taught her.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back. We're the Outback Sisters.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Denise. And today we're going to talk about Louisa Lawson. Louisa Lawson was a woman of remarkable tenacity and strength. The fact that she is often reduced to being simply Henry Lawson's mother fails to acknowledge the many significant achievements of this extraordinary woman who paved the way for the progress we continue to build upon today. When Louisa passed away in 1920, most newspapers only described her as Henry Lawson's mother. However, that was far from fitting. It is far from fitting to say that Henry was Louisa's son. No, hang on. Far more fitting to say that Henry was Louisa's son. Without her relentless determination and unwavering support, Henry might have ended up just another lost soul rather than the celebrated poet we know and admire today.
And if you're not Australian, it's worth looking him up.
Mm-hmm.
Most Australians know who Henry Lawson is. Louisa Lawson was born in 1848 and emerged as a towering figure in Australian feminist history, earning recognition as the mother of women's suffrage in New South Wales. Through her work as a publisher, writer, feminist, and businesswoman, she fearlessly challenged colonial Australians' patriarchal structures and dedicated herself to advancing women's rights during a transformative period in the nation's development.
She was born Louisa Albury on February 17th, 1848, in Gutwang, near Mudgee, New South Wales. She was the second of 12 children born to Henry Albury and Harriet Wynne. Oh dear. Growing up in a struggling rural family, her early years were marked by hard work and the need for resilience. Though she left school at age 13, what was common in those days for girls, Lawson possessed a remarkable natural intelligence and determination. Despite her father's opposition to educating girls, she taught herself to read and write, kindling a passion for learning that would fuel her later achievements.
At 18, Louisa married Niles Lawson in 1866, who later anglicised his name to Peter Lawson. The marriage proved challenging, particularly after the couple settled on a poor selection. They was in what they called the land. Poor
Back
selection.
in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, at Urundunderi, New South Wales. Peter's frequent absences working as a gold miner and carpenter left Louisa relatively managing both the household and children alone. She gave birth to 5 children. Henry Hertzberg Lawson was born on 17th of June 1867, supposedly in a tent on the goldfields at Grenfell, New South Wales. Charles in 1869, Peter in 1873, and twins Gertrude and Annette, or Nettie, 1877. The devastating loss of Nettie at 18 months old deeply affected Louisa, who grieved for years afterward.
In her grief, she increasingly relied on her eldest child, Henry, to help care for his siblings. These difficult years gave Louisa intimate first-hand experience of the hardship faced by women in colonial Australia, particularly those left to manage families and households alone. Following her separation from Peter Lawson in 1883, Louisa moved to Sydney with her children.
Peter provided financial support for the children sporadically, prompting Louisa to consider legal action. Instead, she turned to sewing, washing, and taking in boarders to help make ends meet.
Demonstrating exceptional business expertise, Louisa established a successful boarding house and used the income to invest in property. This financial independence, rare for women of her era, later became instrumental in funding her publishing ventures.
In 1887, she purchased the struggling Republican that ran between 1887 and 88. Though her father was illiterate, he was a gifted storyteller, a talent Louisa inherited. Her poetry, inspired by the tragic loss of her infant daughter, had previously been published in the Mudgee Independent. Louisa and her son Henry took on the task of editing and writing most of the Republican's content, using the pseudonym Archie Lawson for editorial contributions.
In 1888, Louisa established The Dawn, Australia's first journal produced exclusively by women for women. The publication became a powerful platform for advocating women's rights and social reform. It ran for 17 years, from 1888 to 1905. The Dawn covered a wide range of topics that included women's suffrage, working conditions, domestic violence, marriage reform, education, health issues, as well as literary content.
On December 31st, 1888, Peter passed away, leaving Louisa an inheritance of £1,103. She used the funds to expand her printing operation and began taking on commercial printing jobs. By 1889, Mrs. Lawson was employing 10 women, including female printers, reflecting her commitment to supporting women's employment.
The journal employed only women as typesetters, despite fierce opposition from the male-dominated printing industry. You can just imagine it, can't you?
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't happen now.
This decision demonstrated Lawson's commitment to creating employment opportunities for women and challenging gender-based occupational restrictions.
Still exists. Lawson playing a pivotal role in the women's suffrage movement in New South Wales. In 1889, Louisa founded the Dawn Club, which became a centre for feminist activism.
In 1891, when Mrs. Dora Montefiore founded the Womanhood Suffrage League of New South Wales, Louisa was invited to join and was elected to its council. She generously offered the Dawn office as a meeting space and printed the League's literature free of charge. Louisa organised public meetings and demonstrations, wrote powerful editorials advocating for women's voting rights, and lobbied politicians and decision makers. She also forged connections with other suffragists around Australia, broadening the movement's influence.
In October 1892, Louisa was part of the League's delegation to the Premier. During the meeting, her passionate declaration that women needed the vote to redeem the world from bad laws passed by wicked men, and that's a quote, drew unfavourable coverage in the press, highlighting the challenges suffragists face in battle entrenched societal attitudes.
In 1900, Louisa was thrown from a tram, fracturing her knee and injuring her spine. Her recovery took more than a year. This traumatic accident seemed to sap some of the vitality and creativity that had made Dawn such a success. The publication lost its innovative edge, with novelties disappearing and fewer lively, concise news items featured. Advertising revenue declined, and by 1905, Dawn ceased publication.
Her efforts were instrumental in New South Wales, granting women the right to vote in 1902, shortly after Australian Federation.
But beyond suffrage, Lawson campaigned for numerous social reforms, like equal pay for women, women's property rights, and other rights for women and child protection.
While primarily known for her journalism and activism, Lawson was also a poet and writer. Her literary works often address themes of women's experiences in colonial Australia and rural life, as well as social justice.
Louisa's own literary career flourished in the early 1900s. In 1904, she published Dirt and Do, an 18,000-word story that showcased her straightforward narrative style. The following year saw the release of her poetry collection, The Lonely Crossing and Other Poems. Her writing was characterised by a direct and accessible approach, deliberately crafted to connect with the inspire ordinary women rather than cater to literary elites. This same accessible style likely influenced her son Henry's early literary development, as she played a significant role in shaping his early work.
Throughout her life, Lawson confronted numerous challenges with remarkable determination. She battled constant financial hardship while shouldering the full responsibility of supporting her family. As a woman in business, she faced relentless gender discrimination, particularly from the male-dominated publishing industry that actively opposed her employment of female typesetters. Her struggles were compounded by deteriorating health, including increased deafness and injuries sustained in the tram accident. Yet despite these formidable obstacles, Lawson never wavered from her commitment to social reform and women's rights. Her extraordinary resilience in the face of such adversity inspired countless other activists to persevere in their own struggles for equality. Do you think that deafness would be like industrial deafness?
I don't know, because Henry was deaf too. I mean, he got it from some kind of virus or something. So
Well, it's just that they're working in those print mills and they're loud.
maybe in her case, yeah.
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 Anyway, I just wondered.
Don't know.
No.
It could have been genetic too, maybe. Could
Well,
it
it
be
can be
hereditary?
hearing problems can be passed on.
So maybe, I don't know. Louisa brought transformative change to Australian journalism by integrating as women's perspective into mainstream media, creating opportunities for female journalists and establishing innovative formats to address women's issues. Through her work, she demonstrated the viability and success of women-led publications, paving the way for a more inclusive and equitable media landscape.
Her advocacy extended beyond journalism, driving significant social change. Lawson was instrumental in the fight for women's suffrage in New South Wales, championed improved working conditions for women. She played a crucial role in elevating the recognition of women's rights, enriching public discourse around gender equality, and fostering the growth of feminist organisations. Through her efforts, she left an enduring legacy of progress and empowerment for women.
As the mother of Henry Lawson, who is one of Australia's most famous writers, Louisa's influence extended into Australian literary culture. Her relationship with Henry was complex, marked by both support and tension, but her influence on his literary development is undeniable.
In her latter years, Lawson faced increasing physical challenges, yet she remained active in her advocacy until kidney health forced her to retire from public life in 1905. Despite this, she continued to write for Sydney magazines and published The Lonely Crossing and Other Poems, a collection of 53 poems.
Louisa passed away on August 12, 1920, at the age of 72, following a long and painful illness. She passed away in Gladesville Mental Hospital, where she had been living alone since 1918. Her memory fading, but her determination intact. She was buried alongside her parents in the Church of England section of Rookwood Cemetery. Her estate, valued at £629 for probate, was left to her son Peter, the father of 9 of her beloved grandchildren.
I was just listening to what you're reading then, and I find it so sad that she would have been alone having 5 children. And also an interesting fact that she gave the money to one of her other children, not the oldest child.
Well, Henry had mental issues. So, I mean, the fact that she didn't leave the money to him was probably a good idea because he would probably have spent it on booze. So,
It's
a bit of, hey?
A great writer, but yeah, he had his demons.
He had demons. So, at the end of the day, though he had 2 children, and why money wasn't left to his 2 children, or the mother of his 2 children, I don't know. But, I mean, obviously, Peter sounds, I don't know anything about Peter Lawson, but perhaps he was the more, I don't know, solid.
In life, maybe. Yeah,
solid.
And also he was the father of 9.
So, yeah, I mean, they had another son too and a daughter, but I don't know anything about them.
No.
So.
Okay. Well, we'll have to check that out one day and see what happened. Yeah. Lawson's significance in Australian history extends far beyond her immediate achievements. She demonstrated the capability of women in business and publishing, creating enduring networks and organisations, and contributing to shifting social attitudes towards women. Moreover, she established models for feminist activism and influenced future generations of activists, leaving the enduring impact on Australian society.
Although often overlooked during her lifetime, Lawson's contributions have gained increasing recognition in recent years. Her legacy is honoured through inclusion in Australia's women's history curricula, commemorative plaques and monuments, and facilities and institutions named after her. Additionally, her life and work are explored in academic studies, biographies, and celebrated through cultural reference and tributes.
Now you hate it when one word just trips you up. That's the whole thing.
You just assume that's what it's going to say, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I know. That's when you're reading, especially aloud. Louisa Lawson's life exemplified the power of determined activism and the importance of creating platforms for marginalised voices. Her combination of practical business sense, political activism, social reform advocacy created lasting change in Australian society. Created change in Australian society. As both a pioneer of women's rights and a successful businesswoman, she demonstrated the capability of women to participate fully in public life.
Her legacy continues to inspire contemporary feminists and social reformers in an era of ongoing gender equality discussions. Lawson's work reminds us of both how far we have come and how much remains to be done. Her life story stands as a testimony to the power of an individual in creating social change and the importance of maintaining a clear vision for social justice despite opposition and obstacles.
And there you are. Now
So,
we've got
I included I don't think we should read it.
I don't think so. But what we could do is, if anyone is interested, Denise actually found a nice poem.
What I'll do is I'll include the words in the film clip. Okay, that's what I'll
see
do.
The words, and if you want to look it up, it's called The Digger's Daughter, so you can actually look them up anyway. Yep. And it should be easy to find. My biggest thing with this now, Henry Lawson, I believe, wrote The Man from Snow River. Is that right?
No, that's Banjo Patterson.
That's Banjo Patterson. I would have thought that because I love Banjo Patterson. Sorry, I'm not that fond of Henry Lawson because I can read things. I shouldn't read things between the lines of this because I can read that he probably wasn't much of a help to his mother, though they were working together, and that would have helped him.
I think he would have been a help to his mother in the beginning. I think he just lost the plot as the time grew on.
If he had mental problems, alcoholism, you can easily say that that's possibly why things began to fall apart. Have we ever thought about doing anything on him?
I've got Henry Lawson in the Convict Diaries. There is a thing on Henry Lawson, which if anybody wants to look it up. I don't know. I'll try and put it in the comments somehow. If not, I'll try and work that out. Never done that before, so pray for me.
But if we can't, we'll try to let you know how to get into that in our next story.
Not a problem.
Person's life. Since we definitely seem to be doing a fair few Australians, it's worth for them to know a bit more about Henry. And then maybe we can do one on Banjo another time together.
Banjo Patterson, sure, why not? He's he was the next one I was going to do for Convict Diaries. But we could certainly do him as on here. Doesn't matter.
It's just that my favourite poem, Australian poem, is
The Man from Snow River.
Oh God, yeah. And if anyone wants to watch the movie, even though it's not great, it's still got that storyline running through it. I'm
good.
sure you can get it in Australia. I loved it. You got the international flavour of Kirk Douglas and a lot of good Australian actors and actresses. So
it's a good movie.
Give it a go. Mm-hmm. And the horse is beautiful. It's absolutely, and the countryside, breathtaking.
Gorgeous countryside, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah. So I know I was strayed from her, but thanks everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us, and join us again next time. And let's see who else we can uncover in our history.
Yes, you never know. We're always looking for something different. Please try to like and subscribe.
Yes, and thank you very much. Bye, Lisa.
See you, Denise.